Hi guys, today I want to walk you through something that I just did recently, and it's a really great practice. Not only is it meditative, but it also is really good for your watercolor practice because it helps you to know what colors you have. This is something that I did recently where I took all of my watercolor paints, there's a lot of them, and I made little squares and I painted all of them. And I have it go in the little square, really dark saturation up to light saturation. This was so helpful because as I was doing this, I went through all of my paints and I realized that the brand new paints that I just bought 6 new tubes, I already had all those colors. And I'm so disappointed because I wanted to spend my money buying new colors. But now that I have this is multi-purpose. So one, it is a great way to keep inventory of your watercolor paints and know what you have and maybe what you need. Secondly, it's a great way to see what the colors look like on paper because you know when you're working with these little tubes, sure, like, okay, this is bright green, but it looks so much different when it's actually on the paper. So it's really, really important to do something like this, especially when you're working on a painting and you're wondering, what color should I choose? You have this guide already set up. So inventory, it's a great way to see what your colors look like, and it's just a great way to make sure you don't buy extra paint of something that you already have. So today I'm gonna show you how to create this. We're not gonna go through the whole thing. Full disclosure, I didn't measure anything when I did this, and it was exactly the amount of paint tubes that I had, which was just crazy, and it worked out perfectly. So I'll show you how to do this. Obviously, you're gonna have more or less paint than me. I'm sure we don't have the exact same number, so this is gonna be different the way that you make it, but I'll show you how I did it. You're gonna need a couple supplies. One, watercolor paper. I worked on a 9 by 12 inch piece, but you can choose whatever size you want. A ruler, so you can have nice straight lines. You don't have to have straight lines. You guys don't have to be as particular with this if you don't want to be. I wanted to have nice, perfectly nice little rectangles, but you could just do swatches as well. A pencil, eraser. So I didn't work with my watercolor paints like this. I worked with them out of the tube, and I'll show you how to do that when we get to that part. 2 cups of water, because you want the colors to be as true as possible. So 1 for warm tones and 1 for cool tones. And then of course your brushes. I think I used a size 2 or a size 4, so nothing crazy. And then I like to have a paper towel to just dab off extra paint. All right, let's get started. To make these little squares, you can do one of 2 things. If you are somebody who wants this to be really particular and nice and even, go ahead and count how many paints you have and then measure out what that would look like. I am not gonna go through the math equation with you guys. I know you can figure it out, it's basic math. But I'm gonna show you just how I did it really quick as far as painting. I'm just gonna make some little squares over here. I'm making them just 1 inch, but if you do go ahead and do the whole thing and you wanna measure it out, just use your ruler because it'll help things stay nice and straight. But I'm just gonna show you one example. What I ended up doing was, if I would have taken all of my paints and put a little bit on, first of all, my palette is filthy. Or not filthy, but it would change the color, right? And I want the purest form of this color. If I was to do little dots all over that, I would, first of all, mix it with other colors. Even if I had a clean plate though, I'm gonna waste some of the paint, and I don't wanna waste any paint. So the way that I did it was I grabbed my brush, I opened up my paint, and before I painted, I made just a little note about what brand it was, because I have different brands of watercolor paint. If you have all the same, then maybe just make a big note at the top, like Winsor & Newton or whatever. But I have Daniel Smith, I have Aquarella, I have Winsor & Newton and Holbein. And I wanted to make sure to know the difference because if you look at this, I have a couple colors that are the same, but different brands, and they look a lot different. For example, Winsor & Newton sap green versus Daniel Smith sap green are quite different. The Daniel Smith has a lot more gold in it and yellow, while the Winsor & Newton is a lot more plain. I also had, oh, these are different. I'm trying to find, oh, Payne's Gray. I had Aquarelle and Winsor & Newton. I actually had Daniel Smith too, all the way over here, but you can tell these are very different. One is a lot more blue and one is a lot more gray. So it's really helpful to make sure that you are saying what the brand is and then what the paint color is. So instead of putting all this on a palette, I just lightly get my brush with water, really light. You don't want to be putting extra paint into your, or extra water into your paint. I just take a little dab of it and it's really, really thick. And that's okay, that's good. Because what I wanted, or what I did was I had the thickest, most saturated amount of paint on one end of this rectangle, and then I just got some water on my brush and I'm just swirling it. I'm not scrubbing the paper. It is a scrubbing motion, but I'm not scrubbing it. I'm just helping it move along. And as you can see, doing it like this really helps me to see the darkest saturation of this color and to the lightest with the most water. And I forgot to write the name down here, but make sure you write the name of the color. And that's all you do. And you just go through all of your paints. Like I said, it's a great way to have inventory of what you have. It's a great way to know what paints to choose because it's kind of hard to tell what color looks like. I mean, look at that, you guys. That does not look anything like the color that's on the tube. And that's just normal because it's gonna look different on your paper. I highly encourage you to do this. If you do this, post a picture on Instagram, tag me at Lavender and C. I love seeing what you guys create, and I hope that this practice is not only meditative for you, but really helpful for your watercolor practice. Thanks for watching.